The impudence, the audacity, the unmitigated gall of those knuckleheads of liberty podcasters, daring to voice opinions outside the mainstream of accepted thought. Listen if you dare. It's angry, it's funny, it's even sometimes sad, but it's always based on freedom and justice, as you will see. Here's our host, Jason McPhee.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on April 6th, 2022. Somehow still surviving in the heat of right in the middle of a Biden presidency. I can't even believe we're made it past a quarter of the way through. But anyways, before we get into the topic, let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer in the state of California. In my upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. My name's Jason McPhee, and I'll be your host today. Well,
I'm seeing if I can hold my hands up like in the logo we have, where I've got my hands held up like that. I get shoulder impingement, and my right one doesn't want to go up that high. So we may have to change the whole logo thing.
Our eagle's just stretching his wings there.
Yeah.
There you go.
And then crowing about it, too.
The eagle's got a broken wing right now.
Speaking of what may make a lot of drivers feel like they have a broken wing or at least a flat tire is these high gas prices that we've had because of our favorite president, who's I'm sure going to go down in history as I did that. He's probably going to have stickers everywhere letting everybody know about all the high prices we're all facing. But here in California, once again, Democrats have a novel solution to our high prices. And, they have all these high gas prices that make gas taxes here that make gas prices a little bit higher than everywhere else. Well, our governor has decided to hand out gas cards. So he's decided to borrow from us tomorrow to give us some free gasoline today, I guess. And so for every driver, he wants to hand them a gas card. If for each car you have registered, apparently, that's a $400 gas card. For a lot of people, that might be 4 rides. And boy, if you have to drive anywhere to get that card, I'm not sure if it'll be worth it. But anyway, it's just, yet another kind of crazy idea. We have fairly high gas prices because of a lot of things our leaders have done. I mean, if you haven't got complete amnesia, like our current leader, Joe Biden, apparently, it was only a few years ago under Trump that gas prices were actually extremely low, especially going into the pandemic. And we're talking about, between $2 to $3 a gallon gas in a lot of places. Now, boy, I tell you, we're, here in Sacramento, the prices are right around $5 in a lot of places. So, but anyways, what do you guys think about this? Another crazy solution of our favorite, very recallable governor, I guess, Gavin Newsome.
Very recallable. Oh, go ahead, Leon.
Just the other day, you talk about $5 in the Sacramento area, Jason. Just the other day, my wife and I were returning from somewhere. I don't remember where, but we stopped at a gas station. It was $6.79 a gallon we paid. But we needed the gasoline because we were quite low. But these people always have a solution to take us to utopia. I don't know why Gavin Newsom is not happy right now. Why he's not out there jumping around and dancing on his head about the high gas prices. Isn't this what they want? Don't they want to lower demand for gasoline so they could take us to this renewable climate change utopia? If they want that, here's the opportunity. They should love it. They should be saying this is the greatest thing that have happened to us. Climate change. We're going to stop this climate change and we're going to fix all these things. We're going to ban fossil fuels, or we're going to make fossil fuels too expensive for people to use, and we're going to have this new utopia. Why are they not happy? But the hypocrites on the left, like Gavin Newsom, they can't stand their own utopia. They can't take it. So now they're going to bribe us. This is an election year. for the governorship. So they're going to bribe us. He's going to come out and tell us, oh, we're going to save you. We're going to save you. We're going to give you a $400 rebate. And we're going to say, oh, this is because Gavin Newsom is such a wonderful guy. This is the same Gavin Newsom who's been telling us all this thing about climate change and about banning fossil fuels by 2035. What madness is this? If they think it's such a problem, well, suspend the gas tax. Why don't you do that? That's going to be easy. That's an easy thing to do. Just suspend the gas tax and people are going to save a little bit of money on the price of gasoline. But don't talk out of both sides of your mouth, please.
Yeah, I go for that. That's the best solution. Then it's all on the market in oil, and then he's got even more ammo to talk about his whole thing about making electric cars cheaper than gas cars. Because look at what happened to the market. Left to it, we even took away our taxes that were contributing to the high price of fuel, and now look, it's still high, and you can't blame us now. But we took it in the shorts for you guys. We took one for the team. That's a great idea, Leon. Why don't they talk about it? We took one for the team, and now it's still not enough because look at those evil, greedy oil companies trying to stick it to you. We have the solution for you. Yes. Buy an electric car.
You know, but I always wonder in the little utopian world of buying this massive amount of electric cars. Okay, fine, they want to do that, let's do that. But how is all that electricity is going to be made, though? I really wonder. Do you think wind and solar is going to make that electricity to power these cars? Is that what they're thinking? How is electricity going to be made?
Yeah.
Nobody seems to be thinking about that one. At least I don't hear any discussion about it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, too, because, one of the crazy little, I guess, I don't know if you call it secrets or not, but I mean, when they push for all of these renewables, a lot of times states like California are actually importing the renewables, right? So there's a renewable might be generated in another state, and they're getting credit for buying that renewable, which means that renewable isn't being used technically in that state. Now, all the electrons are really stay where they're at, right? But I mean, the point is, as far as the bookkeeping goes, it's California has taken those renewables from somewhere else. At the same time, we're shutting down nuclear power plants too, which if you really want to address climate change, I can't think of a more, especially for first world countries, an easier way to go about it than nuclear power, because it's base load and you don't have to worry about, it being on and off at the, whether or not there's clouds around or not. So, Yeah. So.
And there's Leon's answer to where you're going to get the electricity to charge all these cars. It's cheap electricity. Well, it's right there, nuclear. But no, they can't do that. Yes. It's the same old thing. They could never entertain the thought of giving more freedom to people instead of giving them less freedom, which is their default way they go. They think let's take away freedom. They can't think about giving more freedom to stem gun violence from the drug war, the drug trade. They could never entertain, well, what ways can we reduce some of the laws here regarding drug use, and how can we address that, and how can we go really attack the problem of people using drugs instead of incarcerating them. Maybe there's another way. This ain't working. I'll guarantee we all know, this whole incarcerate everybody that deals with drugs, and, no matter what they are, buyer, seller, user, or provider, it's not working. And so, come up with some novel solutions, and think about it. Maybe that would actually include more freedom for people, to make decisions on their own instead of less. And the thing about nuclear, it gives you more freedom. They can't entertain that because now you've got more opportunities and more choices instead of pigeonholing you into solar or wind or these other things that just aren't that viable compared to the alternatives.
Well, one of the things too with nuclear, before I jump on to the next subject, but even Barack Obama's Secretary of Energy, Stephen Chu, was a proponent that nuclear had to be part of the solution to bridging the gap to renewables. Just because if you truly are taking this problem seriously of climate change, and essentially you hear Chicken Littles like AOC running around and claiming the sky is falling on this issue. Well, if you're literally saying it's an existential threat, whatever problems that nuclear offers, it's not the existential threat that they're claiming climate change is. So, I mean, it's just absolutely silly. And if you don't look at it, you won't get the better nuclear solutions that might be there in the future either. But, getting back to this whole thing of prices and gasoline, this always brings us to the danger that of lefties always wanting to nationalize and hit price controls. Maybe I could get the image up for this one too. Recently on the Hill, they had a discussion with Bernie Sanders, former secretary of his campaign, I guess, I assume for presidency.
Press secretary.
Oh, his press secretary. Okay, that's it. And, and of course, she's sort of beating the drum for nationalizing the oil industry because, of course, when the prices go up, it's all about greed for the left. And so they assume that this is all about greed for the oil companies. And, it's all Putin's fault or it's greedy oil companies. It has nothing to do with their policies, one iota, and shutting down pipelines or holding up permits or anything else. It's just all about somebody else's greed. And boy, if they could just get their hands on all of it as the government, they could sort it out for us. What do you guys think about that?
Well,
no, you see these people looking. Tim, did you want to go?
I started to say what I thought, but I don't know if it's going to be as good as what you think, Leon. But I'll give it a shot. I'm going to say it that the left, these progressives, these liberals, these Democrats, judging especially from what friends of mine say on Facebook, you're all a bunch of economic morons. Okay, you know nothing about economics. And you shouldn't have opinions about things of which you know absolutely nothing, judging from what you say already. Then about, you name it, it doesn't matter what it is. But I mean, this is the stupidest idea, like all stupid ideas coming from the left. I'm not even going to argue it. It doesn't merit an argument. It's that stupid. It's
Tim. You said they can't understand anything economic. And what do you expect out of people that can't even get the very tangible idea of a man and a woman? They can't sort those things out. You want them to get the abstract ideas of economics?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the next Supreme Court justice gave us the answer. She couldn't define a woman because she's not a biologist. So we can possibly know anything about economics. The left can say this. We are not economists, so we don't have to know these things. We could just spout our ridiculous ideas. We don't have to correct them. We are not economists, so it's all there. But what I was going to say, Tim, are you finished?
I don't know what a taco is because I'm not Mexican. These people think that nationalizing the oil companies is gonna fix something. I don't know what they think is gonna fix, okay? Because all we have to do is look at Venezuela. Venezuela was a thriving, very halfway decent developing country at one time. I told you this before. Venezuela is just next door to Trinidad. Okay, on a clear day, if you're in South Trinidad, you could see the mountains in Venezuela. It was a thriving country, doing pretty good, But then it wasn't perfect, of course. But then Chavez came into power.
And he fixed everything.
Hugo Chavez came into power, and he fixed everything. He nationalized this, he nationalized that, and he nationalized the other. The banks, the oil companies, most of it was already nationalized, but he completed the job and he do a whole bunch of stuff. Now look at Venezuela today. And these idiots, what was that?
It's all fixed now.
It's all fixed now, yes. And these idiots on the left think we could do it right. You see what happened in Venezuela? Well, they did not have the right person doing it. But they now have the solution. We just have to get the right person in place, and they can do it. They can
That's Joe
nationalize
Biden,
everything.
right? He's the right guy.
They could nationalize everything, and they will take us to that utopia where they want to take us. What nonsense! God help us.
Well, fortunately, I think this is just some kind of election era baloney, because there's plenty of people on the left that would think that's just a great idea. You know, that, because I'm telling you, they're economic morons, imbeciles. They shouldn't. Yeah.
But
Anyway.
but Tim, you know, I don't know if this is just an election thing, and some of these people on the left really believe this nonsense.
Oh yeah, you're right. I'm just saying that not enough to actually implement that. I mean, you would have. Yeah, you're right. I mean, God help us if they did. But I mean, you know, I cannot imagine any Congress, even one that was predominantly Democrat, doing something that stupid.
Yeah. Well, speaking of bad things happen in Democrat-run areas, here in Sacramento, we just had a mass shooting just steps from the Capitol, literally about a block or two. Actually, from an area that me and Leon used to eat lunch pretty close to that.
Yes. Yes.
But anyways, maybe I could get the image up here. So about 6 people were killed the other night. Apparently, some guy who had been a felon, maybe some gang connection. There was, I guess, there was an altercation, and boy, they shot over 100 rounds into a crowd of people leaving bars and nightclubs in the middle of the early morning on Sunday morning, I think, and 6 people dead, another 12 injured. But of course, the answer to all of this in a blue state and in a blue president's mind is, boy, if they just had more control over your lives, they could solve all this stuff. So gun control, that's, what comes out of Biden's mouth. So what do you guys think about this? Just another call for gun control, it seems.
We should stop calling these things gun control laws, okay? We should stop calling them that. These are just freedom for criminal laws. That's all it is, okay? Because when you have gun control, the average American citizen, the average law-abiding American citizen, apparently lost him, will always obey the law. If they have to give up their guns or they can't purchase guns, they will obey the law. But the criminal never will. So they're not, these people in their little utopian head will, the poor criminal is going, he's going to come, here's a gun. I'm going to give up. I'm going to stop my life of crime. This is nonsense. This is nonsense. So, okay, what happened in Sacramento, obviously, was a tragedy. There's no doubt about it. Okay, 6 people are dead, 12 people were injured. There may be more, I guess, I don't know. It was a tragedy without a doubt. But gun control is not the answer. It's not the answer. Taking away people's freedom is never the answer. Okay, it is never the answer. The only time you could take away people's freedom is when you're going to put them in jail for committing the kind of atrocious act that they committed there early Sunday morning. Those sort of things, yes, you could put people in jail for. But when you take away people's freedoms, it never solves any problems.
Yeah. And they can't look at the alternatives to this turns out, guess what? And I knew it right away. 2:00 in the morning, outside of a bar, a fight preceded it. And so this is gang stuff. This is just a typical, shootout between, rival gangs that involved in the drug trade and probably about turf involved or something similar, or, whatever the gang baloney they do. And it reminds me of advice from people that are in the gun concealed carry instruction world. Their advice is don't do stupid things with stupid people in stupid places at stupid times. And that's what was going on here. 2:00 in the morning, bars close, you're out and about, getting in fights and shooting up people. That's that's where you shouldn't be if you want to be safe. So, you know, all these liberals worry about, oh my God, what about me? I might get involved in something like that. You know, I mean, you know, although it has been quite a long time since I ever stayed at a bar until closing time in downtown with a bunch of rowdy friends, you know, they're predominantly of the age that would be involved in the drug trade. Okay. You know, it's been a long time, but, you know, I'm worried, you know, so I'm going to make Tim and Leon and Jason have to limit their the number of rounds they can put in their Glock 19. I'm gonna make sure they can't have an AR-15 to protect their home in the middle of the night when people shouldn't be in their home. And I'm going to do whatever I can to make their lives miserable, because even though they're not the guilty party here, but heaven, don't ever entertain a thought about decriminalizing any kind of drugs or drug use and get it. You know, I mean, how many times do the Maker's Mark gang go up against the Jack Daniels gang and have a shootout in front of a bar at 2 a.m.? How many times do you hear about that?
Not
None,
since Prohibition.
Right? Yeah,
since Prohibition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Except you got me there. Except for 1930.
Yeah.
You heard about it a lot then, actually, and the murder rate skyrocketed during that time of Prohibition.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, we have historical proceedings. Oh, really? Oh, why don't we look at that? Oh, I mean, after all, but no. Tim and Leon and Jason's guns are to blame here, and we're going to punish them, even though they did nothing. Because we're brilliant. We know what to do. Because we know better than you what you need. Because we are on the left, and we are progressive. We are for progress. No, you are for going backwards, you idiot.
Well, Tim, you know what gets me too is that there was gun control in effect. And apparently the bad guy ignored it. So, you know, but you know, that really has me triggered. Joe triggered that I want to hand over good guys with guns to you.
Right. So here we go. Let's do good guys with guns. Yes, indeed. So this one comes today from Philadelphia on March 30th, where let's see, is that the one? Yeah, that's it. So authorities say a suspected armed robber was shot and killed by a customer at a North Philadelphia corner store Wednesday afternoon. Officers from the Philadelphia Police Department were called to the 1400 block of Master Street around noon, not midnight, I'll remember, noon, for reports of a shooting. A police source told Fox 29's Jennifer Joyce that two young men, I always like it when they call these criminals gentlemen. At least they didn't call them gentlemen. They're not gentlemen. I can't even say it. Okay. These two young men wearing masks entered the store and approached a man waiting for a food order. One of the robbers hit the man in the head with the gun, and a struggle began. The robber handed the gun to his accomplice, at which point law enforcement sources said the customer shot the armed robber that had hit him, by the way, twice in the abdomen. The customer is licensed to carry a firearm. Oh, good thing. I mean, if he wasn't licensed, I mean, heck, then he wouldn't have a right to defend himself, correct? Is that what you liberals think, you morons? According to police sources, the suspect was taken to Temple University Hospital by responding officers, but later succumbed to his injuries. The second robber, what did he do? Hang around, help his buddy? No, he fled the store after the shooting, has not been captured. Law enforcement sources say the customer was released and is unlikely to be charged. Let's hope so. The entire incident was captured on store surveillance that has already been turned over to investigators. Editor's note, following the shooting, police initially identified the shooter as the store's owner. Oh, no contraire. Sources, including the owner, tell Fox 29 that it was actually a customer who opened fire. Good for him. There you have it.
Indeed. And here we have a good guy with a gun. Okay, not
At
Utopia, not
noon.
Utopia of gun control. Good.
Right. At noon, not midnight.
Indeed, indeed.
Well, it's at least we know there's some good guys out there stopping some of this nonsense too. But speaking of nonsense, time for our Knucklehead Noise Patrol, and this time we already mentioned Bernie's press secretary, so let's talk about Bernie this time. So let me bring up
just to be clear, Jason, it was his former press secretary is what I was trying to say. Okay,
former press secretary. Okay, yeah. I guess the bad ideas are contagious. But anyways, we've heard a similar rant from Bernie in the past, but he said it again, so we're going to light him up again for it. So, but this time, Bernie, I guess, was at a Senate panel, and so, apparently he gets enraged when any rich person does something that he's not doing with their money. And so Bernie was this time was on the warpath against Musk, Branson, and Bezos for their outer space adventures. And what he said in the Senate panel, he said, anyone who thinks we do not have an oligarchy right here in America is sorely mistaken. Today in America, multi-billionaires like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson are off taking joyrides on their rocket ships to outer space. So, he's very upset that they're going to outer space and he isn't, apparently. You think his ideas come from outer space, but aside from that, then he later tweeted, he said, to my mind, if you're worth 180 billion, if you've got mansions and a super yacht, if your hobby is trying to go to the moon or Mars or wherever, you're doing pretty well for yourself. No, Mr. Bezos, you don't need $10 billion in corporate welfare to subsidize your space travel. So there you go. What do you guys think about Bernie's out of this world rant?
No, if Bernie was really, if I mean they were looking, if the billionaires he talking about were really looking for kind of government subsidies to go into space, whatever, any kind of subsidy, any kind of corporate welfare as he call it, I would probably have to agree with him. But Bernie has this thing about, if you're richer than me, I have a problem kind of mentality, because Bernie is a millionaire, is a multi-millionaire. I think he have about 4 homes all over the place, whatever, and that kind of stuff. But anytime you hear about these billionaires come before him, or there's some legislation involved in billionaires, he's always talking about all these evil billionaires who are trying to rip off the government and rip off the taxpayers and blah, 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 and everything and stuff. It's like you have some kind of wealth envy or something like that he just can't get away from. This man is crazy with his socialist ideas. But please, sooner or later, he's going to get out of Congress, and hopefully his ideas will die with him. God rest his soul whenever it happens.
Yeah, he's got, last I checked here, back in 2019, he had 3 homes: Lakeside Holiday Home, the Burlington Colonial Home, and the Washington, D.C. Row House for bought in 1890, or built in 1890, cost him $489,000, and it is appreciated to $562 in 2019. And so I propose that Bernie Sanders does not need 3 houses, and that he should immediately divest of his houses, at least 2 of them, and take the money and give it to charity. That's what I think.
3 homes is exactly the right amount of homes. If you have 4 homes, I'm very concerned. Yeah, but 3 homes is just the right amount of homes. Did you know he has more homes than Elon Musk has? Elon Musk actually only has 1 home right now, and it is a tiny home. But anyways, go ahead, Leon. Sorry I cut you off.
Yeah, because well, let me just say that, and all these lefties do the same thing. They all fall into the same thing. And of course, Jeff Bezos, I don't know what he has, but I like to use him for an example. But if Elon Musk is the example, then I mean his wealth is tied up in his company, and Jeff Bezos is the best example because he owns a bunch of Amazon facilities, of which many of them are just a bunch of his warehouses and conveyor belts and methods of moving things from point A to point B, goods, and of the goods, he's got size extra large ladies underwear, and that is part of his wealth. I mean, that's part of it is, and the extra large bra and panty sets that he sells in his through his Amazon warehouse. I mean, he's got to have everybody's size, right? So he's got little girl toys, and that's his wealth. Okay, it's not a bunch of Ferraris in these chateaus in France, on Lake. Wait a minute, that's Italy. I was about to say on the French Riviera in Monaco. He's not driving Ferraris around. It's his wealth is tied up in a bunch of crap that nobody would want, except that it's wealth because people are buying it. I mean, and he doesn't want that. He doesn't want the ladies' underwear. He just, he wants to make the money, and he kept it in the business. He hasn't pulled it out. And of course, this latest faux law they want to pass, where they want to tax what's the word?
Unearned income.
Unearned income, but it's something else. Anyway, it's basically income you don't have you haven't pulled out.
I think it's unrealized gains you're talking about.
That's it. Unrealized gains. That means it's not been realized. That means you haven't put it into cash. And it's all in the figment of people's imagination about what they expect in the future. Yes. Okay, it's his share price. It's this, that, or the other thing, but it's not anything that you can put your finger on until in the future when he pulls it out, if he ever does. I mean, so these are some of the lunacy that people fall for. So a guy buys a company or builds a company up, and it increases in price $1 billion 1 year. Well, next year it could decrease in price $2 billion. The way the market is, you never know.
Yes.
So now he's got to pay tax on the $1 billion, but next year when he lost $2 billion, is the government going to give him a refund? No. That's the short answer. No. And so these are the kinds of idiocy that they throw out there. And I think it's just to pander to their equally stupid voters that vote for these people, that they remember those economic imbeciles I talked about before. They're the only ones that would fall for this kind of nonsense. And it's just no other country in the world, at least no other first world country in the world, does that to their wealth producers. It's lunacy. It's idiocy. And so nobody does it. So, but it doesn't prevent them from, election year pandering to their base. Doesn't prevent them from putting it out there. But anyway, there we are. We're already over time.
Tim, I've got to pull the Bernie card on you. We've gone overtime. You've had way too much time. I'm going to have to tax you and take away some of your time. I'm going to have to shut you guys down. So we're out of here. Catch us at the next show. Until then, stay free.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, always and forever.
Thank you for listening to the Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. Find us on Facebook, Rumble, YouTube, your favorite podcast network, and at knuckleheadsofliberty.com.